grinding's a joke? Huh? You think it's a joke? What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be reviewing this video here, 10 times your Korean learning progress with this formula. It was recommended to me in the Discord via my reviews recommendations channel, and it had some interesting comments, so now I am curious to see what this person has to say.
Oh hey, didn't see you there. Just watering my plants. You know, for a long time...
Every time I hear this type of music, I instantly think horror game. Like, this is the type of music where, and even like the footage itself, the grainy VHS footage with that music, I instantly think horror game. Something traumatic is about to happen.
I'm a real girl, just like you.
I told myself I was terrible at taking care of plants. It's weird how a little bit of attentiveness, consistency, and patience proved that wrong. Surprise! This video isn't about plants. It's about the universe. That's right.
Okay. That's an interesting start.
Buckle the up, Buttercup. In this video, I'm going to reveal 3 truths about the process that I've realized while learning Korean and growing plants, and I'm also going to share with you a practical formula.
You know, I thought I made weird parallels between programming and language learning and then acting and language learning, and this dude over here, he's just like, you know what? Let's make a parallel between plants and language learning. How could we even go even more bizarre than that? Let's make a parallel between taking a dump and language learning.
Oh, fancy seeing you there. I'm Dr. Evildea, your feces extraction expert, and today I'm going to talk about how a good dump is a grinded dump.
You can use to measure your progress a little bit better. By the end of this video, you too should have a much better understanding of how to maximize your language learning efficiency. This is a monstera deliciosa, and I've had this plant for about 5 years now. When I first got her, she was pretty small. She only had maybe 2 leaves. She was about this big, maybe a little bit small. I wanted her to
I know nothing about plants, so if you're expecting me to start critiquing this guy on, you know, how he's looking after his plants or the names or even the pronunciation, it ain't gonna happen.
thrive. Give me these big, beautiful green leaves with these interesting shapes, mostly to fill out my apartment. Now, just like the smarty pants that I am, I put in a lot of work. I looked up optimal watering schedules. I got the fertilizer that was, you know, the right chemical composition to get maximum leaf growth. I looked up the exact light exposure conditions and even bought artificial lights to make sure that she got the maximum amount of attention that she could possibly get. Now, all of this was pretty time-consuming, expensive, and also, like, frustrating. And even though I did all of that, she didn't really grow all that much. As you can imagine, I was pretty disappointed by this, but I got more plants. A lot more plants.
So the language learning equivalent would be, even though I did all that and I failed miserably at this language, I'm going to learn like 20 more languages and hopefully that will solve my problems.
But as I got more plants, I kind of stopped doing all of the special little stuff, mostly because I just didn't have time. And you want to know something I realized? This monstera was growing at the exact same rate. It became very clear to me that no matter what, I could not make these plants grow on my terms. And I think the exact same thing is true for our language learning. Like, patience is not just some fluffy, abstract concept. It's like a virtue. And working within the laws of the universe is probably in your best interest. So here's truth number 1. Everything in our universe is governed by a set of laws. And we're not really in control of anything. Like, think about it. We feel in control of certain processes because, you know, we understand how long they take. Like, boiling water takes about 3 minutes. Having a baby, 9 months.
What kind of graphic is that? Okay. I don't know. I want to see where that came from.
10 if you're Korean. But are we really in control of these processes while they're happening? Not at all. When you're cooking, countless little molecular reactions are all happening automatically. When a bone heals, millions of cells are just like doing their thing, whether you like it or not. So when we want to achieve something, what we really have to do is navigate all of these automatic processes that follow these laws in order to achieve our intended outcome. Our role is to just maintain the best conditions that we can. Really, all that we're in control of are the intentions we choose to hold on to.
Okay, so I will say one thing, and he's probably going to clarify this later anyway, but learning a language is also, I guess, kind of like plants. You can't just put a plant there, not water it, walk away, come back in like 5 years and hope that it's like fully grown into this tree type of thing. So it's the same with languages. You can't just like say, I'm going to learn a language and then expect it to happen. You still need to put in the work and the effort. Now, what I think he's obviously getting at here is that don't worry about the micro improvements that you can do, because most of the time they'll make no difference at the end of the day. It's more the macro processes that are important, i.e. the grind or what you're doing every day with the language, which is important. So realistically, I think what he's trying to get at here is that a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to find those micro optimizations to improve their process when they should just spend that time learning.
But actually, Ian, you say, dorkily, I might add, can't we speed things up with science, like plant growth hormones or anabolic steroids or something like that? Thanks.
Could you imagine that? Like some antibiotics, steroids for language learning. It's like, oh man, my Japanese sucks today. Konnichiwa.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. You see, in that situation as well, all we're doing is maintaining optimal conditions. Like, I could give all of these trees here the perfect amount of fertilizer, the exact right amount of water, and the optimal sunlight that they're going to want to get maximum growth. But the growth is just that, maximum growth. I can't make them grow any faster. I can just encourage them to grow as fast as they're going to grow. There's a natural limit, law, if you will, that limits how fast and how they're going to grow. And what you'll probably find out, like I did through raising plants and learning Korean and all that stuff, is
I guarantee you there's going to be someone in the comments who's going to be like, no, but I have the drug. You just got to take it. It's a 3-month dosage. By the time you're done, that's your fluent Korean, man. You got it sorted.
that there's often a marginal difference between highly optimized conditions and pretty good conditions. Even with the most science
Yeah, this is basically like the 80-20 rule in action, you know. As long as you do the main part, you're going to make the majority of the progress anyway. And all those optimizations, they're just focused on that 20%. And we like to chat about the optimizations here on this channel because, well, if I didn't talk about the optimizations, what the hell would I talk about? Why do I even have a channel? No, but like realistically, it's fun to talk about the micro optimizations because it distracts us during the process of learning a language, which we all know is going to take a very long time, a lot of effort. And we like to just, I guess, you know, shitpost and waste time talking about the optimizations.
scientifically optimized, perfect conditions, you are not going to grow one of these trees in a day, a week. See where I'm going with this? Surprise again. This video isn't about plants or the universe. It's
Surprise again!
about learning Korean. So, do you remember my monstera? And how I told you that sometimes doing less gets you better results? If not, like, it's only been a few minutes. Like,
By the way, if you haven't noticed, I speed up these videos when I review them just slightly so that, you know, I can actually review them in a manageable time frame. But it looks like this guy is now power walking down this, like, footpath right now.
lock in, bro. So here's truth number 2. Patience emerges when we deeply understand the processes that we're engaged in. But think about it, like when you genuinely understand that certain things just take a certain amount of time, waiting for them just doesn't feel the same. It's just reality.
That is the coolest looking monorail I have ever seen. Can you even fit a human in there?
Like, babies come when they're ready, or so I'm told. Plants grow as they grow. Bones heal as they heal. I think when we have an understanding of our role in facilitating the processes that get us the outcomes that
Basically, patience is the key, okay? You do the work and expect with time and patience that you will get there. And it's a very good thing to say. Like, it's completely true.
we want, we're patient. Patience isn't even a consideration. And this same principle shows up in language learning. We don't know specifically which inputs beget which outcomes. We don't really know which drop of water is going to go into which capillary and which leaf on the plant when we give it water. And in the same way, we don't specifically know which scenario, in which context, with which history of hearing the word 보이다 is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back and, you know, initiates that acquisition in your brain. But you know what? That's okay, because what we do know is that achieving...
Okay, although I agree with the general gist of what he's saying right now, he's actually starting to take it a little bit too far to the extreme. Because although, yes, there are parallels between, you know, growing a plant and learning a language, it's not exactly a one-to-one type of thing right now. So with a plant, what can you do? You can give it a nice environment, you can give it some, you know, food, water, via nutrition and stuff, and that's pretty much it. But with a language, and when you're learning a language, you actually have control over the growth of your individual structures within this language. So you can actually take specific pathways. You can't do that with a plant. You can't sit there and go, you know what, I want it to just grow the flowers. Start focusing on the flowers. Grow flowers, you little fuck! You know, you can't do that with a plant. But with a language, you can go, you know what, I really want to focus on this one specific aspect of the language, which I'll find to be of more use down the track. And maybe I don't even care about that part over there. You can't with a plant be like, I don't need the leaves. Stop with this leaf bullshit. Like, you have no control whatsoever. In fact, what I'm starting to see now is more parallels between the growing of the plant and, say, the pure input crowd who treat it like a plant. Because the pure input crowd are the guys who will sit there and just watch and watch and watch content and just, you know, let it grow in whatever way it does within their brain type of thing and eventually learn the language. But even they can specialize more and focus on specific aspects of the language that they want to improve. So it's not like a perfect parallel right now.
Achieving certain outcomes is more or less doing a lot of the good stuff and a little of the bad stuff.
PhD, please. Not yet? Okay, then let me present you with my unified theory of everything. It is my privilege to present to you my universal growth formula. Growth equals time times consistency times proper conditions. Simple, elegant, demure.
I agree with that statement, and it's pretty similar to my own statements where I say grind with the language, do something every day or you will end up like Elmo here. You just gotta keep consistent and keep progressing.
Illuminating. And it works for plants too. So let's define the variables here. The simplest one is time, which is basically just a law that we have to navigate. This will always be positive as long as we're engaged in the process. Consistency is a choice that we make to show up. This is measuring how and how often we act on our intentions. Finally, proper conditions is just doing lots of good stuff and a minimal amount of bad stuff, and at the very least, more good stuff than bad stuff. So here's why the formula.
And this is probably where people get lost with language learning. What is good stuff and what is bad stuff? And the problem is that they will go online looking for this good stuff and bad stuff. Maybe they'll come to my channel and they will pick good stuff based on what I say or someone else says that's actually not good stuff for them because that's not in accordance with their goals. So you need to define what your goal here is with a language. And once you've defined that goal, then you know what is good stuff. Because in order to get to your goal, you can find what's good because it will be obvious that that's bad stuff. So if my goal is to read manga, Japanese manga, well then clearly just watching a lot of TV is not going to help me get towards my goal. I should be focusing on learning how to read. Like that would be the most obvious thing. That would be the good stuff right now. The bad stuff might be learning how to pick up girls at a bar in Japan. Like that's bad stuff. That has no benefit to what I'm trying to achieve right now.
Formula uses multiplication. If any of these three values is 0 or negative, it tanks the growth because obviously they're multiplied. But it helps you to target specifically what you're doing wrong much, much easier. Another very cool feature of this very, very complex formula is that you can calculate that growth. You can run that calculation whenever you feel like it. Having a bad month? Try again. Having a bad week? Start over. Don't let a bad day tank your progress. Reset that bad boy. This morning was a bust? This formula isn't like a way to hack the system necessarily, but it is a tool for cognitive restructuring. It's a good way to help get your intentions realigned with all these natural laws that govern these processes that you don't have any control.
现在我做视频，你可以把它放在这里吗？可以。I'm like right in the middle of a film right now, and then my mother-in-law just walked in with like a hot blanket and stuff. 谢谢妈妈。As you guys know, I have back problems, so this stuff kind of helps me out right now. 我知道，妈妈，你的 T 恤衫很漂亮，你不需要害怕，别担心。
It's not quite as sexy as like learn Korean in 30 days or here's my 12-month study plan, but this has the distinct advantage of actually working. And remember how
I love that. This has the distinct advantage of actually working. That is 100% true.
when I talked about Kimchi Reader, we talked about how it helps you stay in that sweet spot. This is what I'm talking about. This is like one of the best times ever to be learning a foreign language because we have so many tools that help us maintain those proper conditions. By the way, if you're interested in trying Kimchi Reader, I do have a 10% discount code available to all Korean
He got us with the sponsorship. God damn it.
subscribers. So scroll on down and check that out and get you some of them proper conditions.
Now, some of you are probably thinking, again, dorkily, Ian, what if I invest all of my time in some kind of method that turns out to not even be that effective? What if I'm wasting my time? And I get it. Nobody wants to invest in something that's not going to give them any returns. But here.
Okay, so I'm going to give you my ideas around sunk cost. So even if you're doing something that isn't directly related to your specific goals within the language, you're still progressing in the language. Now, it may be slower and may take more time to achieve your specific goal, but you still are making progress. The only time it actually becomes basically of no use or very little use is if you quit, if you stop learning the language. But even then, everything you've learned up to that point could probably be used in some way or another later on in your future. Even if it's just understand language in general or to pull on a couple of phrases, it will still be useful. So all this time that you are investing in your language, if you feel like you've invested into bad methodologies, well, maybe it was a bad methodology, but I guarantee you learned something from that. Maybe from the methodology itself and the fact that you shouldn't do that again in the future, or also just you learned something. Now, obviously, there are ways that helps you progress towards your actual goals, which we have spoken about already.
Here's the thing. If gardeners or farmers kept digging up the soil to check if the roots had started growing from the seeds they planted, they'd end up with nothing at all. The roots grow first, and that's growth you can't see. So language learners who jump between methods over...
I like that analogy. That's a nice analogy. I could just imagine trying to dig into someone's brain to find out if they've actually learnt the fundamentals of a language, just getting in there with a spatula. Let's have a look if he's got the Japanese yet. Oh yeah, he's doing quite well.
And over again and dive into an entirely new process and shun the old one. are just digging up the seeds.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
You need to give your brain time to develop those roots. And I'm realizing now that this is starting to sound like a brainworm analogy, so let's get off of this one. Now, I'm not saying you can't or shouldn't ever change up your approach or try something new, but maybe instead of thinking about changing approaches like planting new seeds, we should look at it like repotting a plant. You need to take it out and bring the roots and the soil it's already in into a new context and grow into that one.
Okay, so that analogy didn't really work that nicely for me. Realistically, if you feel like you're making no progress with a method, just drop it. Try something else. Like, why waste time at something if you feel like you're not making progress with it? Because that's just going to be disheartening. Now, obviously, if you jump to something brand new, whatever you learnt with the old system's just naturally going to come along. This is language. It's not like we suddenly reset. So that analogy doesn't quite work for me.
So, if you've made it this far in the video, I want to pass the mic to you. Well, I gotta keep talking. Why do you think we're so impatient with language learning when we are patient with other natural processes that we understand? Share your thoughts in the comments. For me,
I think because language learning is probably one of those skills that takes the longest to actually master, to learn a language. Like, the time it took me to become proficient in C++, become a game programmer, then become a senior game programmer, was faster than mastering a language.
I don't know, but I do think that if patience is an expression of our understanding, and if understanding is knowing that progress is really out of our control, then I think patience is progress. So water your plants, and maybe stop spending so much time fighting with people in Discord servers. After you've shared your thoughts in the comments, like, subscribe for the algorithm god, and share the video to maybe help get this idea out to more people who need to hear it. I definitely wish someone would have said this to me when I was, earlier on in my language learning journey. Okay,
So, in summary, it's very similar to my own thinking on these things. You need consistency. I grind every day, do something with the language. However, I also specified that a goal can help you along your path. And although I agree with the majority of what he said, there is certain aspects where language is completely different to growing plants. And that is in the fact that you can focus in on specific aspects as opposed to plants, which you just have to let them grow how they grow.
I will see you guys next time. Love you. Bye.
I feel violated. Okay, that was quite the ending. Overall, I would agree with, say 80% of what he said there, although there are certain aspects I do disagree with. So I recommend you guys go check out his channel. There will be a link in the pinned comment below and also in the description. And I'm thinking that this one is going to go into the okayish language advice section of my YouTube channel. And that's pretty much it. And I'll see you all in the next video. And if you're not there, I'm gonna freaking kill you.